So the following are the results that I collected from my technology survey using Google Forms. So I tried to garner a pretty diverse sample population throughout my survey. So I used Google Forms to do that to ensure that everyone had easy access to the survey and most people just completed it right on their phones. I gathered results from about 11 teachers, and these teachers range from all different grade levels and subject areas, including special education. And they also are from around six different districts, the majority of those districts being within Pennsylvania, specifically the Pittsburgh area. And there was also one teacher from Virginia as well. In terms of grade level, this is what the breakdown looked like. So we have a majority of high school teachers, given that that's who many of my colleagues are. I myself am a high school teacher, but we also have a decent sampling of elementary and middle school. This teacher down here who selected the other option chose that because she teaches in kind of like an alternative special education school where she works with a variety of students in multiple different grades. So she just wasn't sure what to choose. So that's what's represented down there. In terms of content area, we have a majority here. 5 out of the 11 of the teachers surveyed were world language teachers. Again, that's who my colleagues are. So that's who I had easy access with survey results. But we also have a sampling of teachers that teach math, English, science, and social studies in addition to special education. You'll notice that these results don't add up to 11, namely because some of the elementary and middle school teachers teach multiple subjects. So they selected multiple options. So, this question I included for which of the following purposes do you and your students use technology in the classroom? Because I kind of just wanted to garner a general idea of why teachers were planning and executing technology in the classroom for themselves or for the benefit of their students. So, this is kind of what the results portrayed, and all of these options gained some sort of feedback. But the ones that were the most common was that teachers and students are using technology to plan lessons, to grade. I'm assuming using their learning management system, to provide instruction, to distribute assignments to students, and then also for differentiation, multimedia resources such as videos, and communication. Some of the less common options for answers were to provide feedback, to do research, data analysis, and virtual field trips. So, again, all of these responses garnered some sort of positive feedback. However, the most common are those ones that are 11 out of 11, 100% of teachers saying that they use technology for that purpose. One of the first survey questions I included was technology increases student engagement in my classroom. And teachers, you'll see a couple questions like this, had to rate their level of agreement. So over half of the teachers said that they strongly agree with that statement, where kind of the rest of that majority there, 36% say they agree. And only one teacher at 9.1% was neutral on this statement. And you'll get some more insight on that with this question. I wanted to figure out and hear some ways in like a short answer form that teachers actually use technology to increase engagement in their classroom. So these are not all of the answers, obviously. I pulled out 4 that I thought were very interesting and then kind of highlighted some concepts within there that you can take a look at. The first response, I'm assuming, is from a science teacher. I know it's from a science teacher. And they mentioned that technology is really important for them to demonstrate concepts that would be otherwise very difficult to imagine without the use of those visual aids. So they use virtual simulations for abstract concepts, and different videos on YouTube and stuff like that. The second teacher mentioned using technology for small group and independent work, and they also utilize talk to text features. The third teacher mentioned using Pear Deck as a way to kind of review and assess learner knowledge, and also using learning games for similar reasons. And then finally, the last teacher mentioned a multitude of different platforms such as Kahoot, Nearpod, and Boom Cards, and they mentioned specifically that it can be creative and fun and engaging for the students. The next agree, disagree question I asked was I use technology to differentiate for diverse learners in my classroom. You'll notice that the large majority of teachers said that they strongly agree, over half of them, with this statement, while the rest of that majority is saying that they agree, 36.4%. And one teacher says that she strongly disagrees with that statement and is not attempting to use technology to differentiate for diverse learners in their classroom. Again, this survey isn't necessarily just about differentiation, so it's not something that was inquired about of like what they are doing to differentiate. I just wanted to see if teachers were using it in this way, and the overwhelming majority is using technology to differentiate. So some specific ways that that's happening are listed here. Again, these are a few kind of highlight responses from the survey. So I see one teacher is using kind of similar tasks that have been adapted and assigned to separate students. Also, audio versions of text for students that are required that. I know that's an IEP accommodation a lot of the time for different students, so that's very useful. Technology to create graphic and color coded notes and organizers, as well as providing immediate feedback. Different learning activities are able to do that, and also allowing students to repeat activities as necessary. This third teacher mentioned using technology during centers, and they specifically called out the boom cards that offer different leveled options that they can use to accommodate different students. And the final teacher here mentioned linking enrichment activities to different assignments and also having the ability to leave comments on different assignments to help specific learners and provide that specific support, for whoever needs it. The last survey style question or agree, disagree style question I asked here was I carefully evaluate the effectiveness of the technology tools and platforms used in my classroom, and I consider these reflections when planning future lessons. You can see that there were not a lot of strongly agree options here. Only one teacher, 9.1%, chose to strongly agree, while the majority, 63.6%, chose to agree with this statement. We have about 18.2%, I believe that's about two teachers staying neutral on that issue. No one disagrees, and then one teacher strongly disagrees with that statement. So this was showing a little bit less confidence in the area of kind of evaluating the effectiveness of technology and whether it's actually meaningful in the classroom. So I thought that was interesting. So, to give you more insight on that, I asked teachers kind of open ended about some specific metrics and methods that they're using to evaluate the technology they use and then how they use that kind of those results to make instructional decisions. So, I had one teacher mention the use of Securely, which my district does not use this, but to my knowledge, it's a kind of a web monitoring platform to monitor students' use of the internet and kind of make sure that they're not using it inappropriately. And you can also kind of block and control different sites the students have access to my knowledge. So that's interesting. My district does not have that, but this teacher's does. This second teacher mentioned using student feedback. I'm assuming that's verbal feedback, things that they say and kind of their overall demeanor. And then also looking at student scores on different games or kind of formative type assessments. And then also using questioning strategies when using technology to see if they are comprehending or using the technology appropriately. The third teacher here mentioned using surveys via Google Forms to kind of gauge student feedback and also comparing performance on technology based and then traditional assessments to kind of see where students are performing at a higher level. And finally, this last teacher mentioned evaluating how engaged students are in an informal way, kind of by circling the room, and also evaluating their achievement of those different learning objectives to see if they really are learning more effectively with technology, and then again, making those adjustments moving forward. The last question I asked here was out of curiosity, I suppose, of what are some areas in regards to instructional technology that teachers would like to learn more about in the future through different professional development or learning opportunities. And the overwhelming majority of these responses said something about AI. So I included three of those responses. The first two. This first teacher wants to use AI to make different practice tests or assessments. The second teacher mentions just using it to improve the teaching and learning experience. And this last teacher down here mentions using AI to answer science, technology, and engineering questions. So AI was a big common response to this question. I obviously didn't include all of those answers. But the middle two teachers here mentioned this longer response. This teacher wants more training on the different apps that are provided on the district iPad. So she mentioned they have all this access to different applications, but they aren't necessarily trained in how to use those applications, which is a common phenomenon in my experience with different districts. And that's something that she wants to learn more about. And then this second to last teacher mentioned wanting to use technology and learn more about how to accommodate students with dyslexia. This is coming from a special education teacher. So these are, very interesting responses. Again, AI was a common theme here, but lots of technology, instructional technology learning to be had. Some takeaways from this survey, teachers very kind of generally strongly agreed that technology does improve engagement. And they also agreed that they frequently can use technology to differentiate for diverse learners. However, they're less confident in actually evaluating the effectiveness of that technology that they use, and using, I guess, that knowledge to make instructional decisions. So that's definitely an area for growth in teacher training and also in the professional development of these teachers. And then finally, going forward, an area which teachers really want to learn more about technology is in the realm of AI, and then also some other district approved or provided technologies. That's kind of where a lot of teachers are curious of how they can learn and grow at this point. So those are the results of my survey. It was very insightful and provided a lot of interesting takeaways for me in terms of instructional technology.